She flew 10 hours across the Atlantic Ocean because her mother begged her to come home for Christmas. Claire Miller stood at her parents' doorstep in San Diego, exhausted and smelling like airplane coffee, holding a suitcase full of gifts for her niece and nephew. The door swung open, and instead of a hug or even a hello, her mom announced like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You'll babysit your brother's kids. We're going on a family trip." Her brother Jason smirked from behind their mother, sunglasses already on, duffel bag slung over his shoulder. The kids dangled from his arms as he said, "Hey guys, don't wipe your snot on Aunt Claire, she's jet-lagged." Everyone laughed. Her parents, her brother, even the children joined in like she was the punchline to a joke she didn't know she was part of. But Claire didn't cry. She didn't yell. Something inside her just clicked off like a switch. She smiled, set down her suitcase, looked her mother dead in the eye, and said one sentence that would change everything. The laughter died instantly. The color drained from their faces. And by the time she was done, their dream vacation wasn't happening. Their house was on the line, and Claire was finally free. But to understand why that one sentence had so much power, you need to know what they'd been doing to her for years. 2 weeks before that 3 a.m. FaceTime call where her mom sobbed about how much the family missed her, Claire had received text messages with screenshots of expensive holiday resort packages. Her mother hinted that she and Claire's dad could never afford something like that unless Claire helped out. Just this once. That phrase, "just this once," was how every favor started. When her dad needed knee surgery, Claire wired money. When Jason maxed out his credit cards on some big e-commerce dream that never materialized, she helped consolidate his debt. When the water heater broke and the mortgage payment was 2 months overdue, she sent cash, and the next week her mom posted brunch photos from a trendy new spot downtown. Claire lived in a cramped flat in London, cooked most meals at home, and walked to work in the rain. Yet somehow, she was still covering Uber Eats orders, streaming subscriptions, and grocery deliveries for a house on a continent she didn't even live on anymore. Before booking her flight home, Claire did something different this time. She saved every Zelle transfer, every PayPal receipt, every text message that said, "Thanks, honey, we'll pay you back when things calm down." She also discovered something that made her stomach drop. Buried in her email inbox was a notice from the bank with her name listed as a co-borrower on a mortgage she didn't remember signing up for. Years ago, her parents had added her name to their home loan, claiming it was just paperwork to secure a better interest rate. Since then, Claire had been quietly covering the shortfalls whenever payments were missed. So while her mom cried on FaceTime about how much the kids missed Aunt Claire, Claire sat on her bed in London staring at her banking app, realizing the only time her family treated her like she mattered was when a bill came due. She almost said no. She almost told them to figure it out themselves. But then a different thought took hold. If they were willing to drag her halfway across the world to use her as a free nanny and a walking ATM, she was finally ready to show them what happened when she stopped playing along. Claire booked the flight, but she also scheduled a call with a financial advisor, pulled 3 years of bank statements, and had a simple legal document drafted using an online template. So when she stood in that doorway in San Diego, while Jason laughed and her mom laid out a babysitting schedule like it was already decided, Claire wasn't the same exhausted daughter they were used to. She rolled her suitcase inside, let the kids jump around her legs, and followed everyone into the kitchen where a glossy resort brochure sat on the counter. Her mom tapped it proudly and said, "See, this is why we needed you here, honey. The kids will stay with you. We'll finally have a real vacation. You always say we should take care of ourselves." Claire looked at the resort name, recognized the credit card number in the confirmation email open on her mother's phone, and felt that switch flip again. They thought she had flown home to be their built-in solution. She had actually come to do something she should have done years ago. She asked everyone to gather in the dining room so they could go over a few things before the trip. Her dad sat at the head of the table like it was some formal meeting. Her mom hovered near the counter, clutching the printed itinerary. Jason scrolled his phone, half listening. The kids spun in circles on the tile floor. Claire opened her laptop, turned the screen so everyone could see, and said as calmly as possible, "Before you go anywhere, we need to talk about money." Jason groaned. Her dad muttered something under his breath about timing. Her mom gave her that wounded look and said, "Honey, we've been under so much stress. Can we please not start a fight before we even leave?" Claire didn't raise her voice. She just clicked open a folder labeled Miller Household and pulled up a spreadsheet. Every line was dated, color-coded, and brutally clear. Last March, she began, you called because the mortgage was 2 months behind. I sent $1,200. In June, Jason's business expenses maxed his card. I sent $2,500. When the water heater broke, $900. Dad's truck needed new tires, $600. The electric bill was overdue, $300 here, $400 there. Every single month for 3 years, there was something. She scrolled slowly so they could see the amounts stacking up, highlighting entries as she spoke. This doesn't even count the Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, Spotify Family Plan, your Walmart Plus membership, the cell phone plan, or the random emergency Venmo requests that somehow always lined up with Black Friday or Labor Day sales. Jason straightened in his chair, his face going pale as he recognized his own. I swear I'll pay you back next month, notes in the memo column. Claire's mom's hand flew to her mouth when she saw her own texts screenshot next to deposits for gas money to visit Grandma, followed by photos of her at a new nail salon posted the same week. Her dad's jaw tightened when he spotted the PayPal transfer labeled knee surgery copay, right next to a receipt for a brand new flat-screen TV that showed up days later. This isn't fair, her mom whispered. You're making us look like bad people. Claire shook her head. I'm not making you look like anything. I'm just showing you what actually happened. Then she scrolled to the bottom where one number sat in bold, impossible to ignore. In the last 36 months, she said quietly, I have sent this house just over $60,000. The room went dead silent. Jason blinked hard like he'd been slapped. Her dad stared at the wall. Her mom kept whispering, no, that can't be right, that can't be right, like saying it enough times would change the math. Claire reached into her bag and pulled out a thin stack of printed pages. She slid them onto the table next to the glossy resort itinerary. This, she said, is a simple agreement. It's not a lawsuit. It's not me taking you to court. It's just a record that all of you acknowledge you owe me this money and will start paying it back, even if it's slowly. $50 a month, 100, whatever. I had it drafted using a legal template. My advisor looked it over. All it says is that this, she tapped the $60,000 on the screen, was not a gift. Her dad finally snapped out of his shock. We are family, he barked. You don't put family in debt like that. What are you going to see your own parents? Claire met his eyes without flinching. Family doesn't hide a mortgage in their daughter's name and call her when the payment's late. Family doesn't spend her money on vacations and brunch and then tell everyone she abandoned them. Her mom flinched like she'd been physically struck. Jason grabbed the printed pages and skimmed the first paragraph, his voice cracking. This is insane. I can't pay this back. None of us can. Claire leaned back in her chair. I know, she said, and I'm not expecting you to, not all at once. But I am done living in a world where you pretend you're victims and I'm some selfish career girl living overseas. If you ever tell a neighbor or a cousin or post on Facebook that I left you with nothing, I will show them these numbers. I will show them every transfer, every bill I covered, every time you chose Starbucks over the electricity bill because you knew I'd bail you out. Her mom shook her head over and over, whispering, No, no, no way. You wouldn't do that, Claire. You wouldn't humiliate your own family. Claire shrugged. I'm not planning to, as long as you stop lying. Then she clicked to another tab. The familiar resort logo filled the screen along with their names, travel dates, and a note at the bottom showing the last 4 digits of the card on file. Her card. And about that family trip you're so excited about, she added, her voice still unnervingly calm, you might want to sit down for this part. Her dad frowned. What are you talking about? Claire pointed to the status line under the reservation number. Canceled. 3 days ago, she said, I called the resort and the airline. Since the bookings were made with my card and my account, I had every right. The package has been refunded. The flight credits have been moved. So when I told you at the door that I wasn't babysitting while you went on vacation, she closed the laptop halfway, just enough to see all their faces at once. What I meant was there is no vacation anymore. Not without me. Not without my money. Not ever again on my dime. Her dad lurched up from his chair like he could intimidate the screen into changing. You had no right, he snapped. Those are our tickets. Claire didn't even blink. They were bought with my card, from my account with my money, she said. The right was all mine. He opened his mouth to argue, but she was already clicking to the next window. And that brings me to the house we're sitting in right now. On the screen was an email from the bank with both their names listed. Gary Miller and Claire Miller, co-borrowers. Her dad stared at it, his face draining of color. Her mom whispered, "Claire, please, not this. We told you it was just paperwork." Claire swallowed the familiar ache rising in her throat. "You told me it was a formality," she said. "You told me it wouldn't affect me. But I've been the one covering short payments on this mortgage for years. Every time you forgot a bill, it hit my credit too." She clicked a button and a small video popped up in the corner of the screen. Her financial advisor's face appeared, framed by a tidy home office in London. They had spoken days before Claire ever got on the plane. "Hi, Claire," the advisor said. "Is now still a good time?" Claire turned the laptop slightly so her parents could see. "Perfect," she replied. "You remember my family situation?" Her dad hissed, "Who is this?" Claire answered without looking at him. "This is the person who helped me understand exactly what being a co-borrower on your mortgage means and what my options are now that I'm done bailing you out." The advisor introduced herself politely and got straight to the point. In calm, measured language, she explained that as a co-borrower, Claire's credit was tied to the house, that missed payments and constant shortfalls were damaging her financially, and that she had the legal right to request removal from the loan. In practice, the advisor continued, that means the lender would require the remaining borrower or borrowers to qualify on their own. They might have to refinance, or in some cases, if they cannot meet the requirements, the property may need to be sold to satisfy the debt. Claire's mom shook her head frantically. "You can't do that," she said, her voice trembling. "We can't afford to move. We can't afford a higher payment." The advisor's voice stayed gentle but firm. "That is between you and the lender, ma'am. What I can say is Claire is not obligated to keep her name on a loan that she is not truly benefiting from, especially when she is the one making up the difference." Claire thanked her and ended the call, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her teeth. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Her dad rounded on her. "You're going to make your own parents homeless over some numbers on a screen." Claire looked him straight in the eye. "No," she said. "I'm going to stop letting you gamble with my future while you act like I owe you my entire life. If you can afford resorts and plane tickets when you think I'll be here to babysit, you can afford to sit down with a bank and figure out how to pay for your own house." She reached into her bag again and pulled out a folded letter. "This is my formal notice that I'll be stopping all automatic payments related to this property," she said. "The bank will contact you directly from now on. I'm also closing the joint checking account Mom convinced me to open, just in case there's an emergency." Her mom made a choked sound. "But that's where the grocery money comes from," she said. "That's where we pay utilities. How are we supposed to manage all this?" Claire took a breath, steady and slow. "The same way every other adult in this country does," she replied. "With your own income, with your own budgeting, with your own consequences when you overspend." She opened another tab showing the monthly auto drafts she had set up over the years. Mortgage supplement, power, internet, streaming bundles, grocery deliveries, car payment top-ups. All of them had her name next to the word pair. "As of today," she said, her cursor hovering over the cancel button for each one, "these stop. You will get your own bills in your own names. If they're late, that's between you and the companies, not me and my credit score." Jason finally spoke up, panic rising in his voice. "Claire, you can't just pull everything away at once. At least give us time. I'm looking into more hours. I'll sign up for more delivery shifts. I swear, just don't screw us like this." Claire turned to him. "You're 34 years old," she said. "You have 2 kids. You should have been doing that years ago without me dangling in the background as a safety net." He stared at the table, jaw clenched. For a second, Claire almost softened. Almost slipped back into the role they had written for her. The fixer, the quiet helper, the girl who would cry in the shower and then open her banking app and make it all go away. But then she remembered the way they had laughed at the door, the way her mom had said, "You'll babysit," like it was a line item on their to-do list. And that softer part of her shut right back down. She hit cancel on the auto-pays one by one. Confirmation emails pinged her phone. Her mom's breathing got faster. Her dad sank back into his chair, staring at nothing. "This is cruel," he muttered. "You're punishing us." Claire shook her head. "No," she said. "I'm finally stepping out of a role you all wrote without asking me, and I'm giving you the chance to be honest about what you can actually afford without hiding behind my bank account." She closed the laptop and stood up, her legs shaky but steady enough. "After this," she said, If you decide to tell anyone that I abandoned you, just remember I have every receipt, every bill, every transfer. I'm done being the villain in the story you tell other people to make yourselves feel better." She picked up her suitcase and added quietly, "You wanted a real vacation. Maybe this is it, a vacation from pretending I'm your built-in solution to every bad decision. Let's see how you handle life without that." Her dad finally exploded when he saw her rolling the suitcase toward the hallway. He jumped up so fast his chair scraped across the tile. "If you're walking out after this little show, don't bother coming back," he barked. "You're not welcome in this house if you're going to hold money over our heads." Her mom reached for Claire's arm. "Gary, stop. She just needs to calm down. We can talk about this," she said, but she didn't actually move to stand between them. Jason stared at the floor, silent. Claire paused in the doorway, hand on the handle, every muscle in her body shaking. A part of her wanted to drop everything, apologize, and say she'd figure something out like she always did. Instead, she straightened up and said, "You're the one who decided my value here was measured in what I pay for. If I'm not welcome without my credit card, then I was never really welcome at all." Her dad jabbed a finger toward the door. "Get out," he said. "And don't come crying to us when London chews you up and spits you out." Claire almost laughed at that. London wasn't the city that had been eating her alive. This kitchen was. She stepped outside, the California sun hitting her face, and pulled the door shut behind her. No one followed. No one called her name. The only sound was Mia and Logan arguing about a cartoon from the living room, blissfully unaware that their vacation had just evaporated. Claire ordered an Uber and dragged her suitcase to the curb, feeling more homeless than she actually was. The driver loaded her bag into the trunk and asked, "Where to?" She took a breath and gave him an address she had never given her parents, a high-rise in downtown San Diego, 15 minutes from their quiet little street, but a completely different world. 6 months before, after one too many midnight money transfers and guilt trips, Claire had used her savings and her steady UX design salary to put a down payment on a tiny one-bedroom condo. She told her family she was just thinking about coming back to the States someday, but she had already signed the papers. The plan was to move in slowly, quietly, once she figured out how to disentangle herself from their finances without blowing everything up. Tonight proved there was no gentle way to do it. When the Uber pulled up in front of the glass building, it felt surreal. She swiped her key fob, wheeled her suitcase through the lobby she'd only seen twice, and rode the elevator up to the 8th floor. The condo smelled like fresh paint and new carpet, not like anyone's cooking or stress or desperation. Just empty. Hers. She dropped her suitcase in the middle of the living room and stood by the window looking out over the city lights. For the first time in years, her phone wasn't buzzing with, "Can you send something until Friday?" Or, "The card got declined. Can you fix it?" She opened her banking app and went through the last few things she still paid for that weren't in her name. The family Disney Plus canceled. The Hulu bundle canceled. The Spotify family account, the shared cloud storage, the random Apple charges for games the kids downloaded, canceled. Each confirmation email felt like cutting a string that had been wrapped around her ribs for a decade. She brewed herself a cup of cheap grocery store coffee in her brand new, barely stocked kitchen and sat cross-legged on the floor because she didn't even have a couch yet. In the quiet, without her mom's constant sighing or her dad's TV blaring, the doubts rushed in. What if she'd gone too far? What if they really couldn't keep the lights on without her? What if she had just turned into the cold-hearted daughter they would tell everyone she was? But then she remembered something her financial advisor had said during one of their calls. "You are not responsible for fixing problems that adults created before you were even part of the equation. And you are definitely not responsible for funding a lifestyle they refuse to live within." Rumors suggest that stories like Claire's are far more common than people admit. Reports claim that adult children, especially daughters, are often expected to act as safety nets for parents who never learned to budget or siblings who refuse to grow up. There's been a lot of buzz online about the bank of mom and dad phenomenon, but what happens when it's flipped? When it's the kids being drained dry by the very people who were supposed to protect them? Claire pulled up her email and started drafting messages. One to the bank requesting formal removal from the mortgage. One to the financial advisor confirming next steps. One to a lawyer just in case things got uglier. Her phone buzzed once. A text from Jason. You really did it. Mom's crying. Dad won't talk. I hope you're happy. She stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, I'm not happy, but I'm finally free. There's a difference. She hit send and turned off her phone. Outside the window, the city sparkled like it was celebrating with her. Somewhere across town, her family was probably sitting in that same dining room, staring at canceled reservations and unpaid bills, realizing for the first time in years that Claire wasn't coming to save them. And for the first time in years, Claire wasn't drowning. She was breathing.